Honda builds some of the most reliable motorcycles on the planet. They also build absolute nightmares that will drain your bank account and destroy your riding enthusiasm. The terrifying part? They look identical on the showroom floor. We are exposing 7 Honda motorcycles you should run from and 7 that represent legendary value. Because knowing the difference between a bulletproof classic and an expensive mistake could save you thousands of dollars. Let's go. The avoid list. Number 7 to avoid, the Honda DN-01, 2008 to 2009. We begin our avoid list with a motorcycle that perfectly demonstrates how even Honda, the company that literally invented reliability, can produce an absolute disaster when they forget what riders actually need. The DN-01 was Honda's ambitious attempt to create an automatic cruiser that would appeal to non-traditional riders. It featured a 680cc parallel twin engine, a continuously variable transmission, and styling that looked like a committee designed it after studying every cruiser ever built and choosing the most boring elements from each. What makes this Honda a nightmare to own? Let us start with that CVT transmission. In theory, automatic transmissions on motorcycles sound brilliant. No clutch, no shifting, just pure riding enjoyment. In practice, the DN-01's CVT was a temperamental beast that required expensive belt replacements, generated excessive heat in stop-and-go traffic, and delivered power with all the excitement of a dying washing machine. Riders reported that the transmission would suddenly surge forward or hesitate unexpectedly, creating a riding experience that felt fundamentally disconnected from your throttle inputs. But the real problem was Honda's parts and service support. When the DN-01 failed to sell, and it spectacularly failed, Honda quickly discontinued the model and moved on. This left owners with a motorcycle that dealerships did not understand, parts that became increasingly difficult to source, and a CVT system that required specialized knowledge to service properly. Used DN-01 bikes sell for $2,000 to $4,000 today. And even at those basement prices, they represent terrible value because maintaining them costs more than the bike is worth. The DN-01 is an automatic nightmare. But what if Honda took a legendary naked bike platform and ruined it by adding unnecessary complexity and weight? Our next avoid bike is a heartbreaking example of fixing what was never broken. Number 6 to avoid, the Honda CB500R, 2018 to 2019. Here is where things get controversial because the CB1000R is not a bad motorcycle. It is just a terrible value compared to what else exists in Honda's lineup and the wider naked bike segment. What makes this Honda a questionable purchase? Honda took their excellent inline-4 engine from the Africa Twin, detuned it significantly to meet Euro 4 emission standards, and stuffed it into a retro-styled naked bike that weighed 499 pounds. That weight would be fine if the bike delivered impressive power, but the CB1000R produces just 87 horsepower, less than bikes with 300 fewer cubic centimeters of displacement. For comparison, the Yamaha MT-10 produces 160 horsepower from a similar-sized engine and costs less money. The riding experience is fundamentally disappointing. The engine is smooth and reliable. It is a Honda inline-4, after all, but it lacks character, excitement, and the raw power that naked bike riders expect. But the crushing blow is the price. Honda originally asked $11,999 for the CB1000R. At that price point, you could buy a Yamaha MT-10 with twice the power, a Kawasaki Z900 with better handling, or a Triumph Street Triple RS with superior electronics and adjustable suspension. The CB1000R offers nothing that justifies its premium pricing except the Honda badge. Used examples from 2018 to 2019 sell for $7,000 to $9,000, which seems like a discount until you realize that is still overpriced for what you get. The depreciation has been brutal. Owners lost $4,000 to $5,000 in value within the first 2 years, and the market has clearly spoken about this bike's worth. Jessica from Austin bought a 2018 CB1000R as her first letter bike, attracted by Honda's reputation for reliability and the retro styling. She told me, "I kept waiting for the bike to impress me. I kept thinking I was missing something. Then I rode my friend's MT-10 and realized the CB1000R was not broken. It was just boring. It is a perfectly functional motorcycle that makes you feel nothing, which might be the worst thing a naked bike can be." The CB1000R is boring mediocrity with a premium price, but what if Honda created a sport tourer that combined uncomfortable ergonomics with inadequate performance? Our next avoid bike is a compromise that satisfies nobody. Number 5 to avoid, the Honda VFR800F 2010 to 2017. The VFR800F represents Honda's misguided attempt to transform their legendary VFR sport touring platform into a full-dress touring bike. The result is a motorcycle that is too heavy to be sporty, too uncomfortable to be a touring bike, and too expensive to justify its existence. What makes this Honda a regrettable purchase? Honda took the VFR800 platform, a brilliant sport tourer, beloved by enthusiasts, and decided to ADD weight, complexity, and electronic gadgets that nobody asked for. The VFR800F weighs 694 pounds wet, which is heavier than many full-dress touring bikes. That weight comes from integrated hard saddlebags that are permanently attached, a larger fairing, and a complex linked braking system with ABS that feels disconnected and imprecise. The ergonomics are wrong for both touring and sport riding. The bars are positioned for a moderate lean that puts pressure on your wrists during long rides, but is not aggressive enough for spirited canyon carving. The seat is firm and narrow, fine for 2 hours, punishing for 8. The pegs are positioned in a compromised location that satisfies neither touring comfort nor sporting feedback. Riders consistently report that 4-hour rides on the VFR800F leave them more fatigued than 8-hour days on dedicated touring bikes. Used VFR800F bikes sell for $6,000 to $10,000 depending on year and mileage. At those prices, you could buy a BMW R1200 RT with superior touring capability, a Yamaha FJR1300 with better performance, or a Honda ST1300 that does everything the VFR800E F attempts but better. Robert from Colorado bought a 2012 VFR800F thinking it would be the perfect do-it-all bike. After 2 years of ownership, he told me, the VFR800F is not bad at anything, but it is not good at anything either. It is too heavy to be fun in canyons, too uncomfortable for long tours, too complex to maintain affordably, and too expensive to justify keeping. I traded it for a used Kawasaki Concours 14 and never looked back. If you are loving this breakdown and want to avoid expensive motorcycle mistakes, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling us which Honda you think belongs on the avoid list. And do not forget to subscribe so you catch our upcoming video on the most reliable Japanese bikes that outlast everything else. The VFR800F is a confused identity crisis. But what if Honda created a dual sport that was too heavy for off-road, too underpowered for highway touring, and featured a chassis that flexed like overcooked pasta? Our next avoid bike is a legendary nameplate ruined by cost-cutting. Number 4 to avoid, the Honda XR650L 2013 to 2014. When Honda announced the XR650L, adventure riders were ecstatic. Finally, an affordable dual sport with enough displacement for highway riding, wire-spoked wheels for off-road capability, and Honda reliability. What they received was a motorcycle with a chassis so flexy it felt dangerous, suspension so cheap it bounced off small bumps, and an engine that wheezed at highway speeds. What makes this Honda an absolute nightmare? Honda based the XR650L on their XR650 platform, a bike designed primarily for commuting and light off-road use. They added wire-spoked wheels, slightly longer suspension travel, and aggressive styling, then marketed it as a true dual-sport adventure bike. The problem is that Honda did not upgrade the chassis, suspension, or engine to handle real adventure riding. The engine is a single-cylinder thumper that produces just 46 horsepower. This would be acceptable if the bike weighed 400 pounds. The XR650L weighs 386 pounds wet. Not terrible, but that single cylinder vibrates excessively at highway speeds. Cruising at 75 miles per hour turns the bike into a massage device that rattles your mirrors into uselessness and numbs your hands within an hour. The engine character is coarse, the fueling is jerky at low speeds, and the overall refinement is decades behind competitors. Used XR650L bikes sell for $3,500 to $5,000. Even at those bargain prices, they represent poor value because better alternatives exist at the same price point. A used Suzuki DR650 or Kawasaki KLR650 offers superior capability for similar money. The XR650L is a wobbly disappointment, but our next avoid bike takes everything riders loved about Honda's legendary Nighthawk and destroys it by adding emissions restrictions that choke the engine to death. The result is a bike that sounds like it should be great, but rides like a punishment. Number 3 to avoid, the Honda CB500F 2013 to 2015 early models. Now we are getting into controversial territory because the Honda CB500F is generally considered a solid beginner bike, but the early 2013 to 2015 models suffer from specific issues that make them frustrating to own. What makes these early CB500F models problematic? Honda designed the CB500 platform to meet strict European emission standards while keeping costs incredibly low. The result is a 471cc parallel twin that produces just 47 horsepower, which is acceptable, but delivers that power through a fueling system that is jerky, abrupt, and frustrating in real-world riding. The early models suffer from notorious throttle response issues. The throttle is incredibly snatchy off idle, making smooth takeoffs nearly impossible without significant practice. The bigger issue is that Honda significantly understated the bike's capabilities in marketing. They positioned the CB500F as a capable all-around motorcycle suitable for commuting, weekend rides, and light touring. The reality is that the bike is underpowered for highway riding with a passenger, the suspension is too soft for any spirited riding, and the brakes are adequate at best. Single disc up front with a non-radial caliper that provides mediocre stopping power. Used early CB500F bikes sell for $2,500 to $4,000. At those prices, you are better off spending slightly more for a 2016 Plus model or choosing a competitor like the Kawasaki Ninja 650 or Suzuki SV650 that offer better performance and refinement. The early CB500F is a jerky disappointment, but what if Honda created a scooter that combined terrible fuel economy with unreliable electronics and a transmission that failed prematurely? Our next avoid bike proves that even Honda's legendary scooter division can produce absolute nightmares. Number 2 to avoid, the Honda PCX 150 2010 to 2013. The Honda PCX 150 should have been brilliant, a fuel-sipping commuter scooter with Honda reliability, adequate power for city riding, and practical storage. Instead, the early 2010 to 2013 models suffer from transmission failures, electrical gremlins, and fuel economy that barely exceeds basic motorcycles. What makes these early PCX 150 models nightmarish? The continuously variable transmission uses a drive belt and clutch system that Honda undersized for the engine's power output. Riders consistently report belt failures between 10 and 15,000 miles, far earlier than expected. Replacing the belt requires specialized tools and costs $500 to $800 at dealerships. Some owners report going through 3 belts in the first 30,000 miles. The electrical system is equally problematic. The fuel injection system suffers from sensor failures that cause the engine to run rich, stall unexpectedly, or refuse to start in cold weather. Used early PCX 150 scooters sell for $1,500 to $2,500. Even at those basement prices, they represent questionable value because the transmission and electrical repairs can quickly exceed the purchase price. The early PCX 150 is a transmission time bomb, but our number 1 avoid bike is so catastrophically expensive to maintain and so fundamentally compromised in its design that it has become legendary among mechanics as the bike they pray never rolls into their shop. Number 1 to avoid, the Honda VFR800 Interceptor 2014 to 2016 with VTEC. We conclude the avoid list with a motorcycle that breaks the hearts of Honda enthusiasts worldwide. The VFR800 was once the absolute pinnacle of sport touring, a bike that combined V4 smoothness with sharp handling, practical touring capability, and legendary Honda reliability. Then Honda added VTEC, variable valve timing, and lift electronic control, and created a maintenance nightmare. What makes the VTEC-equipped VFR800 an absolute disaster? Honda's VTEC system uses hydraulically actuated pins that engage and disengage additional cam lobes to vary valve, lift, and timing. In theory, this provides flexible, low-end torque and high-end power. In practice, the system is complex, failure-prone, and devastatingly expensive to repair. The VTEC system requires valve adjustments every 16,000 miles, not unusual for a high-performance engine. What is unusual is that checking and adjusting the valves requires removing the VTEC mechanism, which adds 4 to 6 hours of labor to what should be a straightforward service. Dealerships charge $1,200 to $1,800 for valve service on VTEC bikes versus $600 to $800 on non-VTEC models. Honda discontinued the VFR800 in 2016, leaving owners with a depreciating asset that is expensive to maintain and difficult to sell. Used VTEC VFR800 sell for $6,000 to $9,000, which seems like a bargain for a V4 sport tourer until you factor in the maintenance costs. Mark from Florida bought a 2014 VFR800 with VTEC, thinking he was getting a legendary sport tourer at a discount price. He told me, "The first valve service cost me $1,600. Then, at 32,000 miles, the VTEC solenoid failed. The dealer quoted $4,800 to fix it. I traded the bike in for $5,000 and bought a used Kawasaki Ninja 1000. I loved that V4 engine, but the VTEC system turned ownership into a financial nightmare. Those are the 7 Honda motorcycles you should avoid unless you enjoy expensive repairs and endless frustration. But Honda also builds some of the most reliable, best value motorcycles on earth. Let us flip the script and explore the must-buy Hondas that represent legendary value. The must-buy list. Number 7. Must-buy the Honda Grom 2014 to present. We begin the must-buy list with a motorcycle that perfectly demonstrates Honda's genius when they focus on what riders actually want instead of what marketing departments think sounds impressive. The Honda Grom is a 125cc miniature motorcycle that produces just 10 horsepower, tops out at 60 miles per hour, and has become a cultural phenomenon. What makes this tiny bike such a brilliant purchase? First, the price. New Groms sell for $3,499. Used examples from 2014 to 2019 sell for $2,000 to $3,000. This is motorcycle ownership at smartphone prices. Second, the operating costs are absurdly low. The Grom achieves over 100 miles per gallon. Insurance costs pennies compared to larger bikes. And maintenance is so simple you can do it yourself with basic tools. Oil changes take 10 minutes and cost $15 in parts. The Grom is miniature perfection. But what if you want Honda reliability in a proper adventure bike that can actually handle serious off-road riding while remaining affordable to buy and maintain? Our next must-buy is a cult classic. Number 6. Must-buy. The Honda CRF250L 2013 to present. While the XR650L disappointed, the CRF250L represents everything Honda does right in the dual sport segment. This is a lightweight, fuel-sipping adventure bike that actually delivers on its promises. What makes the CRF250L a brilliant purchase? Honda engineered this bike with a single-cylinder engine that produces just 24 horsepower, which sounds pathetic until you consider it weighs just 320 pounds wet. The power-to-weight ratio is adequate for everything except highway speeds above 70 miles per hour, and the fuel economy is spectacular at 70 to 80 miles per gallon. New CRF 250 L bikes sell for $5,699. Used examples from 2013 to 2019 range from $3,000 to $4,500. These bikes hold their value remarkably well because smart riders recognize their worth. The CRF 250L is lightweight brilliance, but what if you want a classic cruiser with modern reliability that costs less to own than any European competitor? Our next must-buy is a value proposition that embarrasses bikes costing twice as much. Number 5. Must-buy the Honda Shadow Phantom 2010 to 2016. The Honda Shadow Phantom represents everything right about basic, honest motorcycles. This is a 745cc cruiser with blacked-out styling, bulletproof reliability, and a price tag that makes premium cruiser brands look absolutely ridiculous. What makes the Shadow Phantom such a smart buy? Honda took their legendary V-twin cruiser platform, a design that has been proven over literally millions of miles, and gave it aggressive, murdered-out styling that looks like it costs twice as much as it does. You get a liquid-cooled V-twin that produces adequate power for cruising, a low 26-inch seat height, and shaft drive that eliminates chain maintenance forever. The riding experience is exactly what a cruiser should be: relaxed, comfortable, and effortless. The bars are positioned for a laid-back riding position, the seat is plush enough for all-day rides, and the power delivery is smooth and predictable. This is not a performance machine. It is a confidence-inspiring cruiser that does one thing really well. New Shadow Phantom sold for around $7,999 when available. Used examples from 2010 to 2016 range from $3,500 to $5,500. At those prices, you get more reliability than Harley-Davidson's costing $15,000. The Shadow Phantom is cruiser simplicity perfected, but what if you want a sport tourer that actually delivers on the promise of long-distance comfort and sporting capability without bankrupting you on maintenance? Our next must-buy is a discontinued legend that represents incredible value. Number 4. Must-buy. The Honda CB500 2003 to 2012. The Honda CB500 is one of the greatest sport touring motorcycles ever built, and the used market has not recognized its value yet. This bike delivers gold-wing comfort with sport bike handling at a fraction of the cost. What makes the CB500 brilliant? Honda took their V4 engine, the same basic design that powered the VFR, and tuned it for low-end torque and all-day cruising. You get 122 horsepower in a package that weighs just 614 pounds wet. The power-to-weight ratio is excellent. The handling is sharp enough for canyon carving, and the touring capability is legitimate. Used CB500 bikes from 2003 to 2012 sell for $4,000 to $7,500 depending on mileage and condition. At those prices, you get more capability than bikes costing twice as much. The 2003 to 2007 models are slightly less refined, but mechanically identical, and often sell for less money. Thomas from Michigan bought a 2008 CB500 with 46,000 miles for $5,500. 3 years and 34,000 additional miles later, he told me, I have put exactly $1,200 into maintenance, oil changes, tires, and one brake job. This bike has carried me across the country twice, through the Rockies, down the Pacific Coast Highway, and it has never let me down. People spend $15,000 on new sport tours that do not work any better than this bike. The CB500 is sport touring perfection, but what if you want the ultimate beginner bike that teaches proper riding technique while remaining fun even after you have decades of experience? Our next must-buy is the motorcycle that launched 1,000 riding careers. Number 3. Must-buy the Honda CB500F 2015 to present. The Honda CB500F is everything the early CB500F should have been. This is a beginner-friendly naked bike that delivers smooth power, predictable handling, and Honda reliability at a price that makes premium beginner bikes look absolutely ridiculous. What makes the CB500F such a smart purchase? Honda engineered this bike with a parallel twin engine that produces 31 horsepower, enough power to be fun, but not enough to be scary for new riders. The fueling is smooth and progressive, the throttle response is predictable, and the power delivery builds confidence rather than inspiring fear. New CB500F bikes sell for $4,749. Used examples from 2015 to 2020 range from $2,500 to $4,000. At those prices, this is motorcycle ownership at scooter money. If you are getting value from this breakdown, smash that like button and tell us in the comments which Honda you think is the best value on the market. Do not forget to subscribe for more honest motorcycle reviews that save you from expensive mistakes. The CB500F is beginner perfection, but what if you want a commuter scooter that actually delivers on fuel economy promises while remaining reliable for decades? Our next must-buy is the scooter Honda should have built from the start. Number 2. Must-buy the Honda PCX 160 2021 to present. After the disappointing early PCX 150, Honda went back to the drawing board and created the PCX 160, a scooter that actually delivers on the promises Honda made years ago. What makes the new PCX 160 brilliant? Honda redesigned literally everything that was wrong with the earlier model. The engine is a new 156cc single that produces 15.8 horsepower, more power than the old model despite similar displacement. The CVT transmission uses a reinforced belt and improved clutch assembly that is engineered to last the life of the scooter. The fuel injection system is completely redesigned with reliable sensors and robust electronics. The battery is properly sized for the electrical demands. Owners report 90 to 100 miles per gallon in real-world use, fuel economy that actually matches Honda's claims. New PCX 160. Scooters sell for $3,999. $99. Early used examples from 2021 to 2022 range from $3,000 to $3,500. Minimal depreciation because smart buyers recognize the value. The PCX 160 is commuter brilliance, but our #1 must-buy Honda is the motorcycle that defines bulletproof reliability while delivering performance that embarrasses bikes with twice the displacement. This is the bike mechanics recommend to their own family members. #1 must-buy, the Honda CB500X 2019 to now. We conclude our must-buy list with a motorcycle that represents everything Honda does right. The CB500X is a mild adventure-style bike that delivers remarkable versatility, Honda reliability, and value that makes premium adventure bikes look absolutely ridiculous. What makes the CB500X the ultimate Honda to buy? Honda took the lessons learned from the problematic early CB500F, fixed everything that was wrong, and created a motorcycle that excels at literally everything most riders actually do. But the genius is the versatility. Commute on it during the week. It is light and nimble in traffic. Tour on weekends. The wind protection is adequate and the comfort is legitimate. Explore fire roads. The suspension and ground clearance handle moderate off-road use. This is the do-everything bike that actually delivers on the promise. The build quality is proper Honda, meaning it will run forever with basic maintenance. Owners report 50,000 plus miles with nothing but oil changes, chain maintenance, and tires. The parallel twin is understressed. The chassis is robust, and everything is designed to last. New CB500X bikes sell for $7,000. Absurd value for what you get. Used examples from 2019 to 2022 range from $5,000 to $6,500. At those prices, you get more versatility than adventure bikes costing $12,000. Do you own one of these Hondas? Did we get it right? Or do you have a different experience to share? Drop your Honda stories in the comments below. If this deep dive saved you from an expensive mistake or helped you find your next bike, hit that like button right now and subscribe to join our community of riders who value honest reviews over marketing hype. Ride safe, do your research before buying, and we will see you in the next video.